Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Are you craving for that special meal that will entice your taste buds and leave you with lasting thrilling memories? Look no further. Spice Island Bulenga has got your answer. Natural, fresh and delicious juice, the best meals. Don't miss our daily specials from Monday to Sunday. Pizza Wednesday, Saturday Pizza Bonanza, you buy one and take two. Come dine with us and feel the experience. We are located at Prime Shopping Center in Bulenga, Mitiana Road. For inquiries, call us on 0704111720. Spice Island, we treat your cravings.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
as he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here, Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
And it's yet another edition of the Hotline Show here at the Digitalk TV. Well, it's the 16th day of January 2023, and those are 16 days within the new year 2023. There's so many things happening within the country and, of course, elsewhere in the world. To start with, sad news, Simon Tulit, former MP candidate for Omoro County, has passed on just today. And then, of course, Dr. Hassan Waswagaliwango, the High Commissioner for, Uganda within in Kenya, Nairobi, has also passed on. And of course, we only have to pray for their souls to rest in peace. Well, then elsewhere, so many things are happening in Tunisia. Protests are still going on. Citizens are like, no, Kaisi Saidi should step down. And many political parties and the civil society organizations have all joined the protests. They believe that the economic crisis can only be solved when the sitting president steps on the side. Then, of course, the UK announced that it will be making supplies to Ukraine to make sure that the seal of the war between Ukraine and Russia, and of course Benjamin Netanyahu. Things are also not good that side. There are those demonstrations taking place. Well, the main topic of discussion tonight, we need to focus much on what's happening within our political parties. You know, one sign of having proper democracy in a country is having well-established political parties with proper ideologies. And of course, this has remained a challenge in many of our political organizations within the country. And we need to tap into this and understand. We've witnessed a number of bickering, a number of standoffs in many political parties, crossover from one political organization to another. But the biggest question, does all this contribute to strengthening democracy, strengthening internal democracy within political parties, and of course, across the entire country? Well, in the studios, I have been joined by a team of very able gentlemen. I have Mr. Barasa Ole Charles. He's a political analyst, and he's a former MP candidate for Samyabugo South. That's in Busia district. And then I also have Mr. Kakooza, Baludde. He's also a political analyst and a very strong NRM cadre. So these are my panelists tonight. And of course, for those watching us from wherever you are, you're also free to join the conversation through our social media platforms. Well, I want to start with Mr. Kakooza. You're most welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening, viewers. I'm humbled that I'm here today. Just had no idea you have such a great platform. I think it's an international platform.
Indeed, it is.
And I'm so happy to be here.
It's a pleasure. Bwana Charles, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much, Abdulatif. Good evening, viewers. I'm happy to be here. It's been a long time. I think I was here about a year ago.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm happy to join us here to discuss national issues.
Well, thank you so much. You're most welcome. Just feel at home. There's so many things happening. When you dig deeper into the NRM, there are those internal bickerings. Sometimes they may not come in the open. You try to contain them within there, but we know they're there. When you go to the FDC, we have issues there. Just recently, you saw one of Buembo Habibu was, I think, the minister, the secretary for labor within the FDC. He had many issues and like, no, I cannot continue being here. He had to cross over to the National Unity Platform. And we know one time he belonged to JEMA, he crossed to FDC, and now he's a member of the NUP. And recently he was unveiled as one of their new recruits. And when you go to the Democratic Party, these issues are there. Just this week, you saw a group of young Democrats trying to raise out their voices in what they termed as hands of DP. For those who believe that Norbert Mao is causing more trouble in their party than good. And so we need to focus much on how best can we have stronger political parties that contribute to national development, that contribute to national democracy, that contribute to building a Uganda each and every citizen will be proud of. I want to start with Mr. Kakooza. You know, being that you're the people seated on the steering wheel, you could be having a lot to share with us in that regard. Yes, how best can we build stronger parties in our country? Oh, we already have them.
First of all, I just want to say thank you once again. What is the politics and who is the political man? I think that would be the question first. Politics is not a game. It's like a joke where people say politics is a dirty game, so people think it to be a game. And because people misinterpreted it to be a game, that's why we have actors and actresses. I'm a political actor. I'm a political actress. So they take it as a theater where they come to act like I'm a political actor. So that's the misconception of the whole thing. Once you get the question wrong, you are likely to have all the answers wrong. Politics, in definition, it's a tricky subject. I've never seen a subject that they say it's both science and art. But in definition, they say politics is the science and the art of managing a society. So how can a subject be two? Now, because people come in it as a game, not as a vehicle or an avenue that we use to organize and manage our affairs in a society. Which affairs are these? The challenges which challenge humanity on earth. Everyone would desire to sleep in a place that's like the ambience I see here. Now, if you're a leader, if you passionately desire to be a leader for a community, be it LOC, location, be it a parish, be it a district, be it a division, a municipality, a country, a constituency, you must be having that passion of organizing and managing that society, to have clean water, to have electricity, to have good roads, to have infrastructure, to have schools, medical facilities. So the political man would be interpreting things that way, but he takes it to be a game. Now, world over, let's forget it and come to Uganda. When the politics of Africa started, it was constructed and built on power centers. So it were these power centers which could produce the power terminals. Who are the power terminals? The community influencers who come up and say, I can see better than my people. Would you offer me an opportunity with a social contract of 3 or 5 years as a tenure, and this is my manifesto, and this is how I'll do it. Now, the power centers were the religious institutions and the cultural institutions which prepared and produced the best quality out of their own communities. Now, we destroyed those power centers. That's why we do not have the best power terminals where power goes through like a current, like you see the electricity poles. Unfortunately, we are happy to run our affairs like that, because when we do away with these power centers, we can say, no, Tiff, it's not your time, I think. Let's give that man an opportunity as you prepare. We are the people to prepare you. The politics which was prayed that way, it had fruits, it could produce the best leaders of communities.
Maybe you need to guide us on this. When you say those power centers were more effective then.
Yeah, because
when
now,
you talk of them, what period is that we are talking about?
Yeah, even in the 80s, even in the 70s and the 60s.
Okay.
When these political organizations were formed, through which we could raise the best of leaders, they were associated with the churches and the religious institutions like a mosques or wherever. That you had people like the Muslims could sit in Chibuli somewhere, and then one of the people would guide them. Some of these were cultural institutions like a Mengo, like a Chibukachabazinga, like wherever.
Yeah.
But now the politicians today we have pay no allegiance to anybody. They are not accountable to anybody because they claim. We went in the primaries, and then I got the card. The way I got the card, you don't know how I got it. So it's like I was the highest bidder. The moment I got it, I went away with it. That's where the problem is. Even these political parties now, these people are not paying allegiance. When they go in parliament, they say, but me, I'm a member of parliament. How do you call me to the
Caucus.
To the caucus or to the political, to my organization's office that come and pay allegiance to who? All I do, I give you some money, they tax me every month off my salary, I support the organization, maybe the party. So they pay no allegiance to anybody. So you cannot call them to order simply because they are self-made.
So is it that these political parties have lost control over their membership, or the members are more stronger and powerful?
No.
Than
The moment political parties became much like a merchandise, we sell the flags. The highest bidder will be considered first. Now you end up producing, because the politics, your input determines the output, which is the service delivery.
Okay.
Number two, electoral commission itself has caused more trouble. Because if you say it's an equivalency of senior 6, then he started nothing. Because in the law, you cannot get a job because you did senior 6. You cannot go to public service commission and say, I need a job. When they advertise, they say the criteria and the credentials we need. It should be this standard of education. Now, electoral commission says, all of you come. When they say that, what's the criteria? Senior 6 or equivalence.
Thank you so much. Well, that's Mr. Kakooza Baludde. He is a strong card of the NRM. Yes, I want to go to Mr. Barasa. You're the only man putting on lenses on this show. I want to believe your lenses will give us a more visible spot of the matter of discussion tonight. These political parties, according to Mr. Kakooza, their role would have been to tap into the power centers, like he earlier alluded. But we find that now, when Mr. Barasa gets the ticket from the FDC, he proves to be much stronger than the FDC based on the criteria on how you went through to acquire that ticket. I do not know your opinion on that.
Thank you very much. I would like to look at, and I want to be a little bit more specific to the topic today.
Yep.
We are dealing with political parties. Political parties are basically the vehicles for nurturing, building, and emergence of national leaders.
Yes.
Who in the end guide the country to achieve its goals, to regulate society in terms of enforcement of the law, to spur economic development, and to provide social services. And so if we are talking about the bickerings in political parties, it's really a very small problem that we have in this country if you're going to talk about political parties. You may allow me to expound a little bit on the the legal framework and the other operational environments of the political parties. We know that the Political Parties and Organizations Act, which establishes the political parties in Uganda, was enacted in 2005, and it was actually later amended in 2010. But if you see how the political parties are operating in the country and the challenges within which they're operating, I classify them into two. One, they have external challenges that are affecting them, and the bickering is just one of the challenges affecting the political parties. So actually we are dealing with a bigger problem than just the bickering, because it's a symptom of a bigger problem. Externally, you find that the political parties are facing challenges of funding. The Political Parties and Organizations Act actually restricts political parties from sourcing funding from external sources outside the country. I think it's irregular because political parties should be actually allowed to get donations, to get funding, as long as those funding are verifiable and they're not sources that are a statutory concern to the government, as long as the sources are genuine. So, for instance, if the Conservative Party of the UK, of England, would want to donate to FDC or NUP or NRM, it wants to make a donation. If, for instance, the Bill Gates Foundation would like to make a donation to the NRM, and so on and so on, that should be illegal and properly declared. And then in the annual returns of the political parties, it is declared. It's clear if there are any taxes that are supposed to be levied on it, it should be. So one of the problems is funding. So what the POA, so that is the Political Parties and Organizations Act, what it is established as a plug into the funding issue was the amendment in 2010 where they provided for funding from the exchequer. Exchequer meaning the government public offers, funding. Yes. Yeah. Now, the amendment was enacted in 2010. We are now in 2023, 13 years, and no political party has received any money. So the first problem is funding, because political parties need funds to operate. Political parties need funds to run offices, their branches, to engage in civic activity, to sensitize the public, to mobilize support. And that is a problem. Of course, then you would be now saying, okay, since other political parties are not getting that, can we also verify that the ruling party is not getting funding, either from external sources or from the national coffers? Yeah. And that is something that you can discuss, or you can, I don't have that information, but really between me and you, we can suspect that the government, the ruling party has unfettered access to public resources, and you can see that during the electioneering period, how money is all over the place. So that is one. Now, having said that, you see that political parties also have a challenge of the operational environment in terms of the hostility of the ruling government and its capacity to apply the instruments of coercion, like the police, the military, the intelligence, and to suppress political activity. Yet actually you would expect that the ruling government would encourage civic education, would encourage mobilization of party activities, so that the Ugandan, at the point of elections, can be able to make an informed decision. Because you see what you want to do. You see, one of the objectives of any party is to retain power, capture power and retain it. Now,
so even if it was the FDC in power, we would still see this hostility?
No. You see, to capture power and retain it, you can decide to use the Machiavellian principle or the Lubavitchian principle, where the Machiavellian principle is that the end justifies the means, and it doesn't really matter whether the means are pure. That's one thing. But you can also say, we want to build a country for the future. Someone made a statement and said, a good leader should be one who can plant a tree in whose shade they will never rest. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're planting a tree for posterity. You're planting a tree for the future. You're planting a tree for your children to rest in. So in other words, you're trying to build a nation. You're trying to organize statecraft in such a way that it can outlive you as a leader. Now, the contradiction here comes when a leader or leaders in authority actually construct statecraft for self-preservation, to serve their own interests. And that has a big problem, and it has a long-term implication. It has long-term legal governance and structural ramifications
Charles,
as you go forward.
Charles,
yes.
There are two issues I've been able to note here.
Yes.
One, you cite the issue of political parties funding.
Yes.
as one of the biggest challenge to our political parties within.
Yes.
And then you also talk about the hostility from the state.
Yes.
And my question here is, when you look at the issue of political party funding, the law is very clear. I may not be able to cite. I've been looking for it here, but I have failed to get it. But as we continue, I'll find it. Our law is very clear. There is a funding that goes to political parties with representation in the parliament. And then there is other section which says that all registered political parties must be funded on an equal basis in an election year. I'll get that. I'll share it with you. And I do not know whether it is the register. We have 29 political parties in the country.
27, I think.
No, 29.
Okay.
Yes, I do not know whether it's a problem with the political parties registered not, doing enough to receive this money. I do not know whether it's the money which is not available or something else. Then the hostility, I do not know of any other country across the world where they will live and give a free space to the oppositions to come, you gather and plan how to topple them. I do not know. I really don't know. I need to be guided on this.
I think probably you're looking at Uganda in the perspective of the rest of the world. And we will not go very far. I'll just give you an example of two neighboring countries.
Kenya.
Tanzania. Because you see let me first go to Tanzania. You see that the CCM has actually constructed an elaborate infrastructure to retain power. Okay? But it allows the other parties to actually mobilize. It funds, for instance, Chadema. You saw Lowassa, the former prime minister, last time when he was running for an election. He actually almost beat the sitting government because he simply left CCM and formed Chadema. And the opposition is funded. It's given space to operate. It's about selling the ideas and also making sure that you work tirelessly to deliver victory. And that's what the CCM does. You can actually go into the nitty-gritty and find that, okay, maybe the CCM is... because no party is really perfect. But you will never see the CCM hounding opposition parties, kicking them, booting them, arresting them, killing them. You will not see that. You saw that just previously in the last election in Kenya, you saw that the sitting deputy president actually went against his boss, okay? And built a political war chest that fought and defeated the sitting president. With his, let me ask you, if you just draw back a little about 6 years ago and you saw what happened to Amama Mbabazi, who was in the government and he just chose to run, what happened? The first thing was fired. Simple as that. Fired, they throw you away from the trappings of power, you don't enjoy resources, you don't enjoy state security, and you are, in a minute, you are reduced to nothing. I just want to give you this example. You have seen the Orange Democratic Movement in Kenya in 2007. It actually mounted a mantra that basically paralyzed Mzee Kibaki, the late, and actually was defeated. Of course, we know what happens. Even the chairman of the Electoral Commission, the late Kivuitu, was asked and he said, "I don't know who won the election." The Kriegler Commission. And so what I'm trying to say is that the ruling government has actually a lot of leg room. It has a lot of leverage to retain power without necessarily coming off as bullish, as hostile, as dictatorial. And this is what we're saying is that even if I was the one in power, I would do everything possible because I have the legroom, I have the infrastructure, I have the national apparatus, I have everything that I can use to retain power without coming off clearly and openly as hostile and actually stifling democracy.
Well, thank you so much. I think it's an interesting discussion. I love the example of Kenya and the background you've shared with us, but I can also tell you that we have a number of countries within the region. For instance, in Rwanda, with the exception of the Ecological Party of Rwanda, all the political parties, no political party can actually operate in Rwanda if the president does not, I don't know the right word to use. All political parties have a lining to the state.
I think before you probably give my brother there an opportunity to speak. You see,
like in 30 seconds, you summarize.
Yeah, you see, when you bring examples, bring good examples. Don't bring bad examples.
Yes.
We wouldn't want to be compared to Rwanda. I mean, what do you compare Uganda to Rwanda? It's a country of 26,000 square miles. It has nothing, no resources.
The point I'm trying to make here is that if you look at the entire East Africa, or even on the African continent, it's just a few exceptional cases like Kenya. Kenya is exceptional in this region. You find that most of these other countries, they seem to be using the same template. And I don't know really, but Kenya seems to be an exceptional case in its own way. But when you look at most of these other countries, you find that even those that purport to be opposition, they are really not opposition.
We are dealing with an issue of the ideal situation. And that's why I'm saying we must not compare ourselves to bad examples. Well, compare ourselves to countries like Ghana, Tanzania, South Africa, you know, because we aspire to be good.
Like them.
We don't aspire to be bad.
Good, thank you so much. Yes, I want to bring in Mr. Kakooza. There is something you mentioned here. You said that you first gave us a definition of politics. The science and art of managing society. And then one other thing I liked from your submission, when you mentioned about the power centers, and I was very deliberate when I asked you which period is that. And you said during the 80s, the 70s, even 60s, these power centers were more effective and they could present good leaders to our country. But the question is, what happened after the 1980s? What went wrong?
Okay. First of all, when you read that word, it says causes of internal political parties. That's what you called us to discuss. It's there. Which my brother did not touch about.
He did.
I'll actually come to
it. Now, how can I arm my enemy? Is that possible? It's like, can the government of Uganda arm the ADF that here are the hardwares?
Are you trying to compare the opposition political parties to rebel groups?
No. If you are my enemy, why would I arm you to fight me?
Who is an enemy in this context?
No, if you were to be my enemy, would I arm you to come and fight me?
No.
So can the government of Uganda, especially the NRM government, that forms the government, because from the constitution, everything is mathematical. We need the figures. Once you have 50% and 1, you form the government as the president. Now, why would the president of Uganda, who has the majority in parliament, fail to change the Political Parties and Organizations Act, which allows IPOD to fund the NUP with billions of money, to fund the FDC with billions of money?
I beg your pardon on that?
Because the law is a constitutional act which says the Political Parties and Organizations Act allows IPOD to facilitate and fund the NUP with billions.
That is wrong.
No.
Okay, well.
That's completely wrong.
Okay, it's okay.
And maybe we can correct each other.
Political Parties and Organizations Act, it establishes those organizations and the Political Parties Act. Is that true?
No. No, please. The IPOD is not a
IPOD is not within
I'm
the law.
talking about the organizations.
Which organizations?
Like NRM is an organization.
Okay.
Like your FDC is a political party. Are they illegal or are they constitutional?
They are legal.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, why would the government feel comfortable to say, if those parties are my enemies, I would not even have them access to resources or to organize? But it's okay. I think we need them because opposition is not illegal in this country. Let them have the iPod money as it is, and let's allow.
I think, Mr. Kakooza,
I think
we need to guide our
I think we are
audience.
We are off the conversation.
iPod does not give monies to political parties.
What does it?
This is state money. Money that comes from the national coffers.
No, it's not.
But what happens...
Can you allow me just guide here briefly?
Please.
The iPod is an informal arrangement of political parties. And actually, you can see that we have 27 political parties, but only until recently, there were only 5. And then NUP and PPP were recently invited. Now, the Norwegian Institute for Multi-Party Democracy,
Netherlands,
Netherlands, sorry, is the one that has been actually facilitating the iPod.
Now,
together with its other development. But I also want to debunk the notion that political competition is enmity. It's not enmity. Actually, political competition is healthy for the country, for socio-economic transformation of the country. Because the issue is that political competition is a competition of ideas.
Let me ask you.
You come with ideas, you go to the masses, you sell the ideas, the masses choose. If the masses say, now NRM is in power, then the next party forms the opposition, and actually the word opposition should not be constructed to mean a negative thing.
An enemy of
it's actually government needs opposition a lot, because even within itself, for it to be able to retain power, it needs somebody to check it. If the government is not checked, it can easily make blunders
Mr. Kakooza, I think was fine. I think, thank you for that information.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Kakooza, proceed.
Can I continue?
Please do.
Do political parties receive money from iPod?
No, they don't. They don't.
Political parties do not...
Maybe, let me guide on this.
There are 2 issues here which you confuse. Netherlands does not necessarily give cash. This is money for taxpayers.
You're contradicting yourself, because your earlier statement sounded like exactly what you're saying.
Okay. iPod money.
It is not there.
Okay, it's not there. Do political parties get funding?
Political parties?
Yes.
Does the Electoral Commission give them money?
Yes.
From where?
From government.
Exactly. Now, how can a simple thing, how can you fail to understand just a simple thing like that?
I think...
Political parties are given opportunity to organize. Who gives them the money? Electoral Commission. Where does the Electoral Commission get the money from? From the taxpayers' money. Now these other facilitations which...
We are making a tactical, a structural blunder in our conversation. Electoral Commission does not fund political parties, and this I want it to be on record. The Electoral Commission funds...
dispatches.
No, it funds presidential campaigns during elections. A presidential campaign can actually be an independent person. Now, the money we are talking about, which is stipulated in the Political Parties and Organization Act, was supposed to come from the Exchequer. That, for instance, every budgeting cycle, the Minister of Finance, in its budgeting, it also provides money for political party funding. This money, for the last 13 years, has not been coming. And that's what I'm trying to explain.
Simple question is I ask. Did the FDC receive money to organize their party?
Well, I don't know, because I'm not here to speak for FDC.
Did the NUP receive money, and if they accepted, we received the money? Now, government...
I don't know unless you give us...
Government does not refuse the political parties to organize at any level.
According to the law.
According to the law.
Yes.
But in practice...
It is... No. Who refuses them?
No, Mr. Kakooza.
Because the political party, if we want it to be country-wide, you should take this political party from your... This is Najalankumbi. Take it from Kamocha, take it from Chadondo Protiten, and take it and organize it countrywide. The government does not refuse people to do that.
Mr. Kakooza, we've lived in this country for quite a while, and I would want us to be very honest Ugandans in guiding, because there are so many people watching us from different places. We all know that there are some parties and particular politicians from the opposition who cannot even step out to organize a public rally. We all know this.
And
again,
during when?
Even right now, there are very particular individuals who cannot do this.
Well, how do you want NRM or the government to help them to make rallies?
I don't think I'm in the right position to answer that question.
Absolutely.
Now,
That's
the other thing...
Whose responsibility?
The other thing we also need to guide before we proceed with the conversation is the issue of political parties funding. Because we should not just leave it blank as like that. The law gives political parties funding. And that funding...
The law has no money. Money should come from
If
somewhere.
you listen to me, you would get my point. This money comes from you and me.
Taxpayers' money.
Good.
Absolutely.
And now this money is dispatched by the Electoral Commission.
To who?
To the political parties.
That's what I said.
And what I want us to clear here is the notion, that narrative that says that money comes from iPod. With or without iPod, that money will be there. Well, let's proceed.
Let me just
that
explain.
money would be there, and the government would not refuse
to give it out.
That money to go to those organizations,
Very
political
good.
parties.
Very good.
And which we see it's happening. Now, it's like I would say, the government is refusing political parties. It's not true. Political parties are not illegal. Opposition is not illegal in Uganda.
Yes.
So the freedoms which are allowed them to operate, to organize their political parties, lies in the hands of the political party themselves. It's like when you see the bickering you are talking about, could there be some internal political problems within their own organizations, within their own political parties, which literally may not count it on government? That is, it's the government that's causing NUP to chase Vigirwa. Government has not ordered them. It's like you would say, Mugisha Muntu left FDC because of the government. That's where I don't want to agree.
Okay.
All political parties have their own problems internally.
Good.
So those are internal democracies within their own political parties and different interests.
Thank you.
Now the government may not necessarily be counted on, say, hey, why did you chase this man from here? No, those are internal affairs of their own political parties.
But do you also agree that the rights we are talking about, they have been infringed on several times, regardless of the internal conflicts in different parties?
I was reading the book of The Art of War. Somewhere on one page he said, now, duties and the rights to be executed. You want to have the rights, but there are duties also. So here in Uganda, we don't consider duties, we only consider the rights. And then they say, no, we need to balance up. The government is here not only to consider the rights, but also the duties.
I want to go to Mr. Barasa.
Yeah, thank you very much. I also, maybe I will request probably that we probably discuss this topic a little bit in a structured manner so that we avoid a lot of veering off. I can see that we are completely, in most cases, off the conversation. We came to discuss about internal bickerings in political parties. And in my first submission, I was actually just giving a wider perspective, and then I wanted to come back to. But I also want to.
I think it's a submission that led us this far.
Yes,
because when you brought in the issue of hostility from the state, the political parties,
exactly,
depriving them of their rights,
and also I think I know that you invite us here because you believe that we are knowledgeable and we know a lot of things that we just come to share with the public. I also want to probably clarify that I am not here to speak for any political party. I have actually come to discuss the whole political environment and in particular the bickerings.
Regardless of
yes, and like I said, the bickering is a very small thing, but actually you would say the challenges that are faced by political parties. And I gave the external, and I wanted to come to the internal.
Ones, yes.
And internal, I mean, there are small contradictions within political parties, all political parties, whether the NRM, whether the FDC, whether the NUP and stuff. In an ideal circumstance, a political party should be constructed on an ideology.
Yeah.
And an ideology is basically the position of a political party on how it wants to use power to serve the country.
Yeah.
First to get it,
Yes.
and how to use it.
How to use it. So, and you know, there are lots of ideologies, and also the word ideology is also, it has been touted to be the most elusive concept in social science. It's very difficult to, because even anarchism, for instance, is an ideology.
Yes.
Terrorism is an ideology.
Yes.
But in this case, we are talking about political parties, and I wanted to just give you that perspective for us to be able to move forward. The bickerings in political parties are a result of different things, especially maybe, for example, you have ideological
differences,
contradictions.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, and the contradiction could come because either the civic education, the ideology, because you see, the party has to have a structure. It has to be institutionalized in such a way that there is a proper dissemination of the information or the messaging or the ideas and the ideologies of the party to its members, and especially the cadres, so that the cadres can then go out and sell. If you ask me whether actually any political party in this country is actually run strictly on its ideology, even populism is an ideology. It's both a political strategy and an ideology. You can decide to sell populism, propaganda, okay, and you keep power, or you get power
that way,
and even keep it,
yes,
without actually delivering to the country.
Yes.
But because you've set up,
you propagate it, and
I don't know if you heard of a gentleman called Joseph Goebbels in the Nazi era. He was a top propagandist of the Nazi movement. He was actually at one point appointed minister of propaganda, and that's the definition. So you can actually sell populism as either a political strategy and a pseudo ideology to capture power and retain it. But in the end, you've not delivered and you've not transformed the country into the usual mid-row income. Now, in this case, you have ideological contradictions if there is an ideology, that people are not agreeing on the structure, on the strategy to move the party forward. That can bring some bickerings. It can actually be that the disagreement is not principled, because you see, when you have ideological differences, that's a principled difference. If I give an example of how General Muntu left FDC, from his utterances, from his expression, you would see that there was a difference between how he believed a party can be run and how the main
and how
FDC, other members believed. So whether actually, like they said, the devil lies in the detail, whether that was genuine or not, but at least from what the country saw or heard from him, was that there's a sharp contrast between how he believes.
Yes.
And in such cases, in most cases, if you cannot mobilize, mobilize the party cadres to change leadership so that you can now advance your ideology, then it is wiser to actually part ways and from another party. And so, but also you know that political parties can also have bickerings when the bickerings is inter-party related. Because, and as I was telling you, that you see, the NRM has a lot of legroom. It has a lot of space within which it can operate to even weaken political parties without coming off as violent. Because it has access to set resources. And you know that there have been a lot of accusations, of infiltration, and you see, there's nothing wrong with infiltration.
And
because malls and stuff. And for me, from a political perspective, there is completely nothing wrong with that, because that would be a smarter way of weakening the opposition. But on the face of it, you look like you're civil, you're clean, you're allowing political space. But you use the tools that you have to weaken your opponent. Even the opposition can use its tools, whichever they have, either propaganda, selling an agenda, selling a national program, if they had resources, for instance. And this is what I said, it boils down to resources. So some of those contradictions, some of those bickerings are a little bit volatile. They're slippery. You cannot actually put your hands on the actual directly cause. You can do a root cause analysis, and you can come here and say whatever you want. But at the end of the day, these political party contradictions will exist. In when Barack Obama stood for president.
In less than a minute, we need to go for a break.
General Colin Powell, who was a Republican, supported Obama, and he was a former Secretary of State. So it could be that was probably, I'm just assuming, probably that was informed either by race, because he was black and Obama was black, and he thought this is a total emancipation of black Americans. So what I'm trying to say is that the bickerings in political parties are influenced by some smaller details. Some of them are secret that you cannot know. They don't come. So you could see that, for instance, in a political party, because we are a multiracial, we are a multi-tribal country, you could see that in a political party, yes, there is a certain tribal enclave or faction that is trying to grab or wants to retain the leadership of the party. These are all possibilities.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Mr. Barasa is a political risk analyst. And so when he tries to bring such issues on the table, you can understand where he is coming from. And I want to believe, not on what he said, maybe perhaps, somehow. Could it be that some of these bickerings, those minor issues happening in other political parties, could they be instigated by... Yes, you know what I'm talking about.
We answer that after the break because you have no time. He gets more to explain.
No, you have like 3 minutes to respond to that.
We come back on that maybe after the break.
But it's not yet time for break.
But I will not have to explain.
No, you can proceed even after the break.
Even after the break, I can give you more time.
Now, this is what I understand about how countries are run. Politics, like he said, is just a vehicle through which we spot out people who have better ideologies of how to manage and run a country, politically, economically, socially, and all other systems we put in place. Now, political parties may not have a chance to deliver sometimes what they see. Where you say, okay, this is the political party, it's called blah, 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 now it has the power, maybe it has the majority. When you ask them, what's the ideology
of your party?
What are the things you think we can have them as a foundation is put in place that generations will come and build on as well? Most of the political actors we have, they don't have issues. Some of them are just angry. Some of them are just ambitious. Others say there are privileges in there. Once I get maybe an opportunity, there are leverages in there that I can have. Maybe a new car, maybe have some money, maybe change my status. So do we really have people, do we have the ideology that we can say, even though I'm not in FDC, but according to their ideology, I think I can be part of them, or I can support them to be able to implement that. Because I read it through their manifesto. But the politics of Uganda, in most cases, it's not the politics of issues. You may find somebody say, why did the people really choose this man here? And they say, but he was maybe of our tribe, maybe of my religion, maybe he was the highest bidder, he came with good money, and then he took the place. Until we have political parties and organizations which ideologically are sound, which can touch the national interests, and we all say, okay, that's the direction, I think we can go maybe there, you will still find people fighting themselves within their own organizations, within their own small parties. Why? Because each one of us has a hidden agenda, like he said. Maybe there are some hidden agendas which people don't want to say. I say, but I can't be led by a man of that tribe because it's those people who did this to us.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kakooza.
When they keep those, okay, when they keep those small things, sometimes they erupt like a volcano and you find them parting ways.
Thank you. We are going to just start from there. You just mentioned something that reminded me, a statement in the book, Mustard Seed, Original, by His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, when he said that he was led by Amin for only one single day. The second day, he started fighting him for reasons known to him. Well, we need to go for a very short break, and when we return, the hotline show will continue, and there are so many comments here. I see them, and after the break, I'll be able to read through some. And for those from wherever you're watching from, please tap onto the neighbor. You come and watch this. In the second hour, we'll also be able to open the studio lines to hear from you, and also keep these comments coming through. Well, let's break off, and shortly we will be back.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Are you craving for that special meal that will entice your taste buds and leave you with lasting thrilling memories? Look no further. Spice Island Bulenga has got your answer. Natural, fresh and delicious juice, the best meals. Don't miss our daily specials from Monday to Sunday. Pizza Wednesday, Saturday Pizza Bonanza, you buy one and take two. Come dine with us and feel the experience. We are located at Prime Shopping Center in Bulenga, Mitiana Road. For inquiries, call us on 0704111720. Spice Island, we treat your cravings.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digitalk brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Well, it's an interesting conversation here, and I love the gentlemen in the studios. And well, it's the Hotline Show. Thank you again for keeping it Digitalk TV. Before we went for the break, we had Mr. Kakooza. I was trying to make his point, and I want to give him more time. Initially, he was worried that I would not have time to make his point. I want to give him more time to elaborate, and then we proceed on the subject matter.
Okay. Now, I will come back to that. In 1986, when the NRM came to power, there was only one constituency which gave NRM the mandate.
Kassis. It was Kassis.
I mean in 1986.
Okay.
In 1986, we had one constituency, which gave the NRM and the President Museveni power. That constituency was called the NRA. It's likely that they created a political system under which we were to operate. Now, slowly by slowly, because I want you to look into the situation, like I said, it's volatile. This is a revolution born out of a civil war. They thought maybe they would produce the best of the politicians who would later give power back to the people. In 1919, somewhere.
No, the initial agreement was up to 1990, actually, 4 years.
Exactly.
They kept
now,
on
1995, we said, okay, let's have a constitution, a book that we can follow. Still, political parties had no space because we were in a movement system.
Until 2005.
Now, in 2005,
yes,
political parties came back in action. Now, it takes some time. Some of these political parties we look at, like he said, like Conservative Party, Labour Party, those parties have existed for so many years. Now, we need to give maybe a benefit of doubt to these other political parties. See, if you have some space, why don't you organize in a better way? A political party that was maybe born just a few years ago, about 3 years ago, like a NUP, which is the leading main opposition, even in parliament, they have the lead of opposition. In no time, they have said a lot of things about themselves. FDC, which had actually even gone eastern, north, Kasese, wherever. What happened? That they could not support that cause, and they said, no, we must maybe bring up another new party, like NUP. Democratic Party was there. Most of the people who left, who are forming NUP, came from Democratic Party. But even the smaller thing that they remained with, it's a fight between Mao and others. It's still the president, still NRM government. Now, if we keep putting the blame somewhere, these internal problems in these political parties cannot stop. Why? Politics, like he said, is how do I use this ideology to have power, to retain power, to continue? We need to know if the NRM had the 10-point programs, what is the ideology of NUP itself? Because you will say, me, I'm promising you a promised land. But you are not showing us the avenues of how you will encounter the person you say he's an armed politician, to disarm him, and then you deliver. You usher in this new thing. It is important to remember to go back still where I started from. Political parties were built firmly on the power centers we had in regions. Do you remember when Emory Mori, I think the king of Bateso, he's called Emory Mori, where he just wrote and he said, Barasa, leave for Baludde. And it kind of happened. NRM got a candidate
in Parisa.
In Parisa. I remember of when Sebagala, Ratif Sebagala, he's the former member of parliament, Kawempe North, I think, when he wanted to come, and then also Lukwago wanted to come. I have some intelligence that they were called somewhere by one of the religious leaders. And they said, how will this happen? when the two Hajis are fighting each other over an issue.
So they agreed and left Nabi the Hajat to join the fight.
Absolutely. And then we need to still think these political parties need to know that we need the elders to produce the best. But when you look at some of these people, they have not been in politics, they have not been in leadership, and they form political parties because there are privileges in there. When you have like more members of parliament in parliament, you get more money.
I think, Mr. Kakooza, initially when you talked about the power centers, I asked you, when you mentioned the time, the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, asked you what killed
even
the
in the
power
2000s
centers.
here,
What killed the power centers?
Political actors were too ambitious that they could not listen to anybody. They could not listen to anybody. So they formed their own way of how do we get there. Now, these political power centers, let me give you a simple example here. All people who won on Nupu tickets, none of them went to Mengo. They all ended in Magere and Kamocha.
So that was their new power center?
Absolutely. So we formed artificial power centers. In fact, the problems President Museveni has with this region or with that region, most of the problem is in North and the West Nile were solved by elders.
Thank you so much.
Well, not the politicians, but elders there.
Thank you, Mr. Kakooza. I want to go back to Mr. Charles. I picked something from Mr. Kakooza. You know, when we talk about political ideologies, sometimes I do not understand. Here with me, I have the NRM 10 points program. But when you look through them, you would still find that they still need an empowerment as the NRM to sit back on the table and then redesign and refocus back. Because when they talk about democracy, our democracy is questioned. That's a reality. Because that was the number one point, democracy. Number 2 was on security. Number 3 was consolidation of national security. Number 4 was defending and consolidating national independence. Number 5, building an independent, integrated and self-sustained national economy. When you look at right now as we speak, you know, the national debt is beyond our control. You know, when you talk about point 6, restoring and improving social service in the rehabilitation of the war-ravaged areas. There are still issues here. You talk about the elimination of corruption, point number 7.
Which is still there.
Which is still there. You talk about redressing errors that have resulted in the dislocation of sections of the population and cooperation with other African countries following an economic strategy of mixed economy. So you find that of the 10 points program, NRM could have tried and endeavored maybe like 3, 4, but majority of it, you know, there's still challenges. Do you think we still have room to have a political system in a country where political parties are based and run on proper ideologies and when they really mean what they preach?
First and foremost, the 10 points program is not an ideology. And that needs to be also clear, maybe to my brother too, that he takes it.
No, I did not say it's an ideology.
It is a promise, yeah,
to deliver.
It was like a manifesto, the platform on which the NRA went to the bush. Now, having gone to the bush, they were supposed actually to implement that. Now, there could be, and I agree with you that most of it is not implemented, but it could be that some of the points were invalidated by time, and this is where I want to tell my brother that we are now in 2020, 2023, another century, by the way. We are in another century. The NRM came in the previous century, and the problems of 2023 cannot be solved by this, you know, the arguments and all that of 1986. So it could be that some of the part of the 10 points program were not actually effected because probably the NRM saw, or the leadership saw, that time had changed and therefore some of those points were invalidated. Or it could be that due to internal contradictions at some point, because you see, we are talking about 27 people who got a gun. I mean, what proportion is that to a country? So probably when the NRM gets to power, and you see, that's why I said I don't want us to construct this conversation as if it's NRM against the other. We wanted to look at these political parties as the same, as a unit, and see the challenges that they are going through that are causing what? Those bickerings. Because all the parties actually have bickerings. It could be that due to internal contradictions, that maybe when NRM left the bush and captured power, they started recruiting members, okay? And some of those members could have come with different ideas that could have hampered the implementation of some of the 10 points program. Or it could actually be that the 10 points program was purely a populist propaganda program to capture attention and imagination of the people, to attract support of the international community in the war, to mobilize the local communities, especially where the war was taking place, to support and support the rebels. So I want us to look at it from that angle. Now, going back to the internal bickerings in political party, and you saw that time the deputy speaker, who is my former colleague, actually standing up, and I like the way, I like his brand of politics when he's saying that the question of 2023 cannot be answered by the propaganda of 1986. I mean, this whole generation, people who are in my age group, anybody who is, say, below 50 years, doesn't actually understand this Bush concept. Anyway, it was a war that helped the NRM to capture power. And now that the NRM got power, it had the mandate to implement a socio-economic transformation trajectory to deliver Uganda to the middle income. And I can tell you that we are still way behind in terms of our politics. Actually, our politics is largely sub-agrarian. It's still very primitive. And you could see just the other day, taking an example of Kenya, you see they had a very bitter election just less than 5 months ago. Mm-hmm. But recently, when President Ruto was going to the home turf of Raila Odinga in Homa Bay, he picked the phone and called him and told him, I'm going to your political... Because in that region, Ruto got 1%. In Ruto's backyard, Raila got 28%. In the deputy president's backyard in Kikuyu, he got 25%. But in Raila's strongholds, especially Luo Nyanza, Ruto got 1%. And actually, when he was there, he joked, he said, but you people, why do you segregate me? Yeah, this man of you has got a lot of votes in my back, but me, you gave me in a joking manner, but he was actually trying to... But you see, I'm trying to say that is mature politics. And for me, I'm one of those who believe that political leaders of the country must always engage and talk. Now, the bickerings could be of a cause of selfish individuals within political parties who do not want to see... Let me give you an example. If President Museveni invited Dr. Besigye, and they had a conversation. I mean, because the country is really bigger than Museveni, and it's bigger than Besigye, it's bigger than anybody. And that's what national leaders must look at themselves. It becomes a very big mistake if you start looking at yourself as if you're bigger than the country. Yes. It also comes down to political parties. If political parties are weaker than their leaders, that the leader can anytime by stroke of a pen,
they cannot progress.
Whip and, they will not progress. So I am one of those who believe that actually this country would be far by now. I can tell you with certainty, with almost 100% certainty, that this country would be a little bit further than where it is.
Charles.
If, for instance, the national leaders speak, forget about this iPod. This iPod you see, the Secretary General of NRM, Secretary General of FDC, Secretary General of GEMA, they go there, have tea, and take a photo shoot. It's good for PR. You understand? But the principles are the ones that you see. If Bobi Wine went to an election with Museveni, and Museveni has won the election, okay, whichever he won it, you as Bobi Wine, I'm using Bobi Wine as an example, you as Bobi Wine, you know that the country is bigger than you. the president who has been elected is your president. You even address him as Mr. President. You understand? I'm talking about in a civil society. But also, the president must recognize that Bobi Wine has a following. Because you cannot say that you're a president of the country and about 48% of the people did not vote you, and you think that constituency is not catered for. I want a civil engagement. If, for instance, Dr. Besigye had spoken to Museveni, and you see, and I'm telling you that within political parties, there are small enclaves which hamper that national dialogue. That within NRM they think, okay, but we can't allow President Museveni to speak to Besigye.
Charles.
In FDC, for instance, there's a group which says, no, we don't want Besigye to speak to Museveni. Why? Because they are serving self-interest. They know that, and I can tell you an example of DP. You know,
actually, that's where I was coming.
You know, it is the first time in my entire life where I saw, because President Museveni has appointed opposition-leaning members before in his government. He has opted some of them before. It is the first time I saw the appointment letter, and it was Honorable Norbert Mao, in brackets, President General of the DP. Did you see that? Now, what does that tell you? It comes back to the bickerings, which are inter-party motivated. That a certain party is using its position and to influence actions or events in another party. So it could actually be that the DP has been held where it is.
Deliberately.
Not to grow. And the person being used to keep the DP there is Mao. I'm just giving an example.
Okay.
Even in FDC, you have seen, my brother here has said, FDC was a larger party. I mean, when it came to power, when it came to prominence,
2004, yes.
2006.
2006, yes.
FDC has had MPs across. You go to Acholi, West Nile, Teso, Busoga, here. So you cannot compare the FDC when it came to the NUP, which has 58 members and only 2 are outside Uganda. And so you start now asking yourself, because you see, the regional power centers that my brother is talking about should not be about.
You need to conclude in 30 seconds.
Should not be about religion. Should not be about, but it should be about common interests. That, for instance, the problems of there are specific problems in Busoga that might not be in Chigezi.
Yes.
Okay, and so there must be why you need regional leadership is that the leadership sits down and says, for us, this is what we want in this region. You are Mr. President, or your presidential candidate. You have come to ask votes for us. This is you sit and have an economic or social agenda and say, this is what we want as a region. Then, of course, there are also national issues which touch everywhere. Yes. Security, education, blah, blah, blah. But there are also specific regional issues that a party or a regional grouping or caucus should be able to come together. And by the way, in smarter communities, it doesn't matter which party you're from. You look at your people first. And that's what I'm saying. For me, I want to look at political parties as vehicles for serving and promoting national development.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Barasa. You mentioned about the way Kenyans look at how they play politics, the way they play their politics compared to us here. I remember one time, Uhuru was in a church after a very hot contest with Odinga. So when he went like, oh, nimeona hapa ndugu Raila, so kuja usalamia watu, I've seen my brother Raila. Can't you come and say hi to the people, Honestly, I don't know if that can happen here. If it does, then it will be a great step.
For instance, independence celebrations in Uganda, it's an NRM affair. It's not a national issue.
Yeah.
Because you don't see any national leaders from other parties being involved. But you see that is civility. So for us, we have kept we have kept our politics largely primitive because we want to anyway.
Well, I want
Mr.
Kakooza to come in. Do you still have room to put these things back?
It's not too late.
I like that.
It's never too late. What are these national interests from western, from north, from south, from eastern parts, which bring us together as a family called Uganda? The country and the people are more important than political affiliations and the organizations and the armed groups we have. But whatsoever man soweth, the Bible says man reapeth. What did the opposition plant in the heads of their people shall also matter. I know of some politics in some areas, some regions of this country, where hate is a tool used and it is misinterpreted to be a political ideology. Now, because you told them we don't eat with them, we don't shake hands with them, we don't, now you put yourself as a political actor.
We don't hug.
We don't hug them, we don't go to their weddings, see them at your funerals, fight them out. In fact, in some languages, they say, Bano bandianabo. When a man of ideas like him comes to me and say, Baludde, what do you think I can be of contribution to my generation now? The first thing that will run in my head, which color of the party you affiliate with, which is very
wrong,
narrow-mindedness. This man is a Ugandan.
That's enough.
The problems affecting his people in Busia land, in Samia land, are the same problems which are affecting the Acholis and the Kalimajongos, the Iki, the Madi, same problems. Why? We are in the same country. In fact, these service centers, like hospitals, like schools, roads, electricity, clean water, we would be at equal. But the problem is that when we are soliciting votes in certain regions, we tell people, these are our enemies. Need to be kill them.
Isolate them.
Isolate them. Don't talk to them. When you say no, but can I give you just a simple example here, Barasa, and the viewers? The leader of opposition comes from Masaka. Minister of Defense comes from Masaka. They cannot sit on the table, have a cup of coffee, and discuss the way forward. The way forward of how do we help the boys in Luzira, in Chitalia, in Chigo. Because the moment they see the two seated together, one is a mall. How do I become a mall?
It's really backward.
That's really backwardness. So the politics, like he told you, our politics is filled with political actors that are primitive at levels of even many issues can cause them bickerings, like he said. You ask him, let me ask you a question. What are we after here? To have the power and use it well to the service delivery of our people, to leave a country a better place than we found it? Yeah, but you can look at the color of the cloth. So, because the people who gave us independence, the whites, they gave us slogans, colors of clothes. Now I saw somebody from my own group who is saying, why don't you change that yellow cloth in prisons? Then the Catholics came out and they said, no, yellow is a Catholic color. Now we have gone back again to a Catholic, to NRM. Until we have politicians who have issues, who have national interests at heart, we would be talking about big, big issues. We would see politicians coming together and say, okay, now, like you said, now Museveni, you are the president. Me, I was not declared. If I won, where did I win? Like, you look at FDC. Even now, they are still occupying space, almost. When you look at Democratic Party, you said the wealth, the knowledge, the ideas in these people. You cannot just trash them away and say these are irrelevant people. No, these guys are land. They have ideas, they have a contribution. But because the winner, Wanji, takes it all. That's what you said. And there are very few people who can see geniusness in the people who have offended them. Because some people construct on the ignorance of the voters. They will bring tribal sentiments, bring religious sentiments, bring all sorts of things. Now, Uganda is a country that is divided like never before. Even when you cry for national dialogue, nobody likes a national dialogue. All we want, equal opportunities, simple. That when I go to Karamoja, I find the same things which are in Acholi land. When the Acholis cross to Musonga, the same thing. When the Basonga go to western part, same thing.
What do we have to do to get to that level of political maturity?
I told you, our input determines our output, the service delivery. Which people do we do that? That's what we call democracy. What does democracy say?
So do we have
like
to
the majority will dictate on the minority.
I like what my colleague is saying. And I want to assume that actually he's saying it's our national problem. It's not an NRM problem.
It's not.
It's not an FDC problem.
It's not.
And when you
say, let me come.
I like when you say that what you plant
is what you reap.
Is what you reap. Or what you sow is what you reap.
reap.
Because you see, you also need to understand that when a party is in power, it actually occupies a larger political space than the minority party.
Yeah.
Now, take an example. If NRM has, say, 400 MPs or 300, maybe say 80% of parliament, it actually means that it has about 80% of the country where their message can be heard louder than others. And
without stifling other people.
Yes. No. Because they're in power. You see, when you're in power, you have more space. And I just want to give you an example. If you go to a function, and that's why there's protocol, that junior people speak first.
Then the final man.
Do you know why? That the final man can actually respond to all these other. And then that means that his word will have final.
You see the big challenge President Museveni is having.
Now, when the party that is in power, since they occupy bigger political space, it actually means that it also takes more responsibility for the problems that are in the country. So it means that it sows more than the smaller parties. Yes. So in other words, we need to restructure our politics and look at a country as larger than individuals.
I want Kakooza to finish and then
democracy.
I read some comments here.
Democracy is like the majority dictates on the minority. The majority has the rule. The minority has the right. Now, President Museveni tries to extend an olive branch to the other side and say, whoa, why did you do that? And then he says, but you guys, governments are taken through 5 avenues. 1, we take a gun and we fight. The group which wins will create a government. 2, you see this demonstration. It's a weapon of war.
Like it's happening in Tunisia right now.
It is happening in Tunisia, it is happening in Sudan.
Israeli right now.
Absolutely. So it is whether you take that. Another one says, no, me, I'll work with the government be a subterfuge. I'll fight them from within. Now,
the Mao style.
The Mao style. Mao says, let me go in. I said, don't go. That is a Satan. Now, that's where the problem is. Why? Because these political actors, they keep saying politics is a dirty game, simply because the dirty people are in the game. If we can have the right people in the game, then the game becomes clean. When one wins, like my brother Barasa said, we have all accepted that President Museveni is the president. Why do you keep saying the same lullaby which you used during election campaigns? Say now, my group is the leader of opposition, but I will prepare for the next, maybe after 5 years. Then you come and try again. But here it becomes a hate, real hate. You can't do it like Laila was and Ruto, where you're making even cracking jokes. Because now campaigns are over. Let's work for Ugandans. But somebody will say, I will make them fail. I'll make it ungovernable. And now the man you're saying, I'll make it ungovernable, is a politician. He's armed. He has his group. He
has everything at his disposal.
Absolutely, he has it. What do you expect of him?
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Kakooza. Mr. Kakooza is an NRM cadre, and so he's one of those.
And I want you to know something also good about me.
Please.
I'm the chairman of Uganda Voters Forum.
So you're my chairman. I never knew. Who elected
So
you?
I'm gonna show him.
Uganda Voters Forum.
Yeah, Uganda Voters Forum is like a charity organization, non-governmental,
Civil society.
non-partisan. It's a civil thing where we go and do civic education and voters education and tell the voter, my vote is my future. So learn how to use it wisely. Do not be taken advantage over by people who come by bribing you, buying this, playing Kadodi,
You seem not to be doing. You seem not to be doing a good job.
No, I'm doing
because
it-
when you look at
when you prepare
how leaders were elected into office,
we have
it tells
just
that
no.
you-
We are only starting this work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
it is a new.
thank you so much, Mr. Kakooza, and I want to read through some comments here. I will not read all, but I will just try to read a few. This one says, but why do we have to compare ourselves to the worst examples like Rwanda? He mentioned about it. We need to begin applying and using good examples if we are to develop as a country. Thank you. Then this is Ethan Mwine. This man is either confused or is mixing facts. Since when does Electoral Commission start funding iPod? I don't remember anyone saying that.
I haven't said that either.
And he didn't say it's you.
Nobody has said that either.
Then this one says, Dear Abdalatif, not to sound otherwise, but do you realize that people with the name Kakooza?
He wants to compare me to Mutale, my uncle?
Let me read it. Okay, he says, Dear Abdalatif, not to sound otherwise, but do you realize that people with a name Kakooza have the same characteristics when it comes to politics and governance? He went ahead and said, the Kakooza you have in your studio has no difference between him and Honorable James Kakooza, former State Minister of Primary Health Care. But also this gentleman Kakooza is no difference from Major Kakooza Mutale of Kalangal Action Plan. Please ask him, what food do the Kakoozas eat that they make them similar, that make them have similar solutions and all reasoning towards Uganda's political questions. He went again, I thank you and thanks for your show, for God and my country.
Yeah, he's on the group of the people we need to hope.
No, let him finish, then we will
Then there is this Mwine, the political risk analyst is running with causation, in bracket, an external cause, to justify internal political bickering. Are you saying there are no internal loopholes and disparities in parties that have stagnated progress? Hence failure, stop running away from the principal issues. Then this one says, a political cadre who is the chairman of a civic organization, it's laughable. Should I read more? No. Let's first stop here for now. But I want to ask the team in the control room to kindly share those comments with me so that I can have all of them. Yes, I think I should...
I think he was the one speaking, so...
Okay, please. Yes, respond to the political analyst there. Are you trying to run away from... I'm sure you got the question right.
Well, I just want to answer the gentleman.
It's Ethan Mwine.
Ethan Mwine. And I think the concept of a political risk analyst is a new concept, so probably many people might not be conversant with it. Now, in political risk analysis, we look at events, okay, and project.
Is it a career? Is it a profession? What is it?
No, it's just a skill.
Okay.
We look at events and try to project the implications they portend to community. The implications could be good. The implications could be, what risk does it pose? What opportunities does it pose? What is the SWOT? And that's what we do. So when I come to when I come here to discuss a topic like internal bickerings, I must be able, because I've come here to share information, I must be able to look at both internal and external, so that we can share with the public a concrete picture. I don't want to just come here and restrict myself to internal, because then it will mean I'm not knowledgeable. Yeah. I come here because I spend time reading, I spend time to researching, and I have a lot of knowledge. And so I appreciate the comments, but I just wanted to help the gentleman to look at it, to look at the point like that. I like it was humorous when he said the Kakoozas. I like it because, but what also he forgot probably is that the three Kakoozas he talked about are from the same political inclination. So it is it could be that it is
an orientation within there.
Yeah, that has caused them. So I don't think Mr. Kakooza here is the only one who speaks like that. You can even get a Semagula, you can even get an Ochan, you can even get a Barasa who is from that political inclination addressing the issue. But I think good enough the comments were not so many, so probably we can continue with the conversation, and but maybe my brother wants to.
Yes, Kakooza, respond to someone who said, "What kind of food do you eat, and how do you come to a common reasoning? All the Kakoozas."
You see, the best way idiots defeat intellectuals is to call you to their level. No idiot will say "come up." He says "come down." Should we continue?
Please.
I have already said that.
Well, maybe also as a moderator, this being
if anybody goes personal,
this being a national,
we are above that.
Yeah, so
we are
it's okay. I think the guy was just making
a joke.
It was a joke, so yeah. I wouldn't expect to respond to him with a stronger word such as idiot. So those are unprintable words that probably should not be on the national show. So as a moderator, you can Barasa, really chip in that.
Barasa, I didn't
but
say
it's okay.
He. I didn't say he.
It's okay.
It's like when a bird is here on the tree and laughing at a fish. I say, why can't you fly? An eagle is a bird of a higher caliber, but in the air, not in water.
Not on the ground.
So when we come to reasoning things, each one has a perspective or a view. That's why people say in communication, in my view, because that's your view.
Yes, yes. So
I think that's
that's fine. I was reading somewhere where somebody was saying that that the politics, I think there's an article, it should have been Gawaya or something. There's a
Tagule Gawaya.
Tagule Gawaya, I think, who was writing and saying that the politics of Africa, and especially sub-Saharan Africa, is afflicted with a PhD syndrome, the pull him down syndrome. And so some, like I said, because most people get into political parties without necessarily having an idea of pushing the political party ahead, but rather serving their selfish interests, they would see that when probably somebody is above them, instead of trying to work harder to go beyond them without putting them down, they think when they bring them down, they would go up. And I think that's a problem in Africa. And this could also influence how some of these internal bickerings. So my point is that the bickerings must be split into two: principled disagreements within political parties and unprincipled positions within political parties. And you have seen across political parties, you have seen divisions in all, DP, NRM, FDC, UPC, you have seen the Otunu,
different factions.
The Otunu, the Ocheno Pentu versus Kena, blah, blah, blah. And for me, I don't have a problem if the UPC allows to be co-opted into the NRM, but on a principled basis, that we have come to a round table, we have agreed that this is our agenda. Yes, as a ruling party, you had an agenda, you won an election based on that. It does not actually mean that every time you win an election, that people have voted you because of your manifesto.
There are many other factors.
There are many other factors. And that's why you see that...
Even an election could be a factor.
Yes. That's why you see that, for instance, while President Museveni gets about 50-something% the votes, the NRM has a higher percentage in parliament. What does that mean? It actually means that some people, if not most people, were voted on their individual basis, not because of their party platform.
Yeah, true.
Otherwise, the percentage of the president should have been consistent with the strength in parliament.
The members of parliament and the other organizations.
Exactly. So, because our politics is not structured on ideology or structured on ideas, it is influenced by so many things, including money. It's influenced by so many things, including tribe, including religion. You've seen people saying
Even
that
money.
I said it. You've seen people saying that, you see, in that constituency, you're not a Muslim.
You can't.
You cannot win. It actually means that people, if an NRM person, let's say an example, where is it Butambala? Where does the...
Yeah, that's the
Butambala.
Butambala.
Where this...
Mwanga Chivumbi.
Mwanga Chivumbi comes from.
That's Butambala.
Okay. Let's say that if a Muslim contests on an NRM ticket, he has an opportunity of winning. Not because he's NRM, but because he's
the fact of being a
Muslim. You've seen in other areas where you see that this is a strong Catholic background, where most of the people elected there. So we need to strengthen our parties, but also the parties, including NRM itself, by the way, have a problem of internal capacity building. Because a party is supposed to be institutionalized. It's supposed to put up structures that can outlive the leaders. What you see in Uganda, that all these political parties are run on a part-time basis.
And built on a person.
On a personality. You find that political parties are very busy during elections. You find that NRM is washing everywhere with money.
I think that's the factor you talk. The money factor you talk about.
But once elections are done, the party offices collapse.
Because they don't
Whether
have...
it's FDC, you don't see an activity at FDC office, if there's no, you don't see an
what
activity.
is good?
And that's the problem.
What is this good thing that FDC has, that NUPU has, that Democratic Party has, that JEMA has? After you have not at least taken the presidency, at least bring it on table.
But it is two-way. That you see, you have won the election, and by the way, let me tell you how it does. I lost an election, and so but I've also been in this political environment for quite a long time. It is actually up to the winner. You see, they say that you need to be magnanimous in victory. It's actually up to the winner to go and look out for the loser. Why? Because psychologically, the loser has lost. And
he has
Mr. Barasa.
He has ideas.
Exactly.
Mr. Barasa.
So you, the winner, you have to be magnanimous in victory. Go to him. Let me just give you an example. The person who beat me in an election, I gave him an opportunity to reach out to me because, I have votes, he has votes, other candidates also have votes. But now you have won and you want to serve the people. Now, your ideas alone are not enough to develop the community.
You need to incorporate
you need all the people. By the way, by doing that, you even find that you can even be re-elected more times because people see you as tolerant and accommodative rather than looking at your opponents as enemies. And this is the kind of politics I want us to stop in this country.
Now,
well,
in fact, before he proceeds, I personally have been trying to preach this kind of politics for about 10 years in Busia. But like he said, that sometimes the voters, when they see you with your opponent, they think you're a mole. Yet actually, politics is purely the competition of ideas that we have gone to the people, and the people have said, FDC is the winner, ONRM is the winner, ONUP is the winner, and now the winner will come to say, but you people, we won an election, that's done, now let's go for development. And as political parties, you have a contribution to the National Development Plan. That's the principal
Thank you, Charles.
engagement I like.
Yes, Kakooza.
Yeah, the problem we have, it's still the gospel that we preach during and after. We kept these people in darkness where people think you are my enemy because of red or because of yellow, because of green, because of blue. Until the political actors come up and say, no, politics is all about ideas. Once I market, sell myself, sell my ideas, and people say, these are the good ideas, I think about the problems affecting us. This man, if he's given an opportunity, he will be able to go and bring us something. Until the politicians come to that level, we are still fighting and arguing over non-issues.
Now,
so like he said, these internal conflicts, some of them are ideological. Where I would say, if we are to get there, my brother Tiff, this is what we must do. And then another one comes up and, no.
This is the way to go.
This is the way to go. Now, if we can part ways, but then we remain
on the cause.
On the cause. But now here, when we part ways, you become my enemy. I become your enemy.
My question here, Mr. Kakooza, it seems the problem has been well diagnosed. We know where it is.
Exactly.
Now my question is, who should spearhead this conversation to bring and call our leaders to order that please, if he is putting on yellow, you're putting on green, you're not enemies. You can converge, you can still meet and deliberate on national issues. You can share ideas on how to serve better the country. Whose initiative should that be? Because it seems our leaders have failed. I've never seen President Museveni, even on state events, inviting the opposition people. If they invite, those invitations are more of a mockery, you know? I
was the one who was always given those invitation cards to be taken to these various political organizations. I could drive, take them there, nobody turns up. Why? It's an NRM thing. Whether Independence Day, which actually would have brought all Ugandans all together. I was the one. Because if I was not the one taking them there, then I would give an excuse and say, perhaps these people are not invited, but it's me.
Mr. Kakooza, there is this thing we've been seeing on many of these national events. We see the events being decorated in one point.
I don't want us to miss that point. That is a very good point which I want to respond to. You see, government has an operating mechanism. Okay? Political parties have an operating mechanism. They have a communication mechanism. How structured political parties should communicate to each other. How the government can communicate to other political leaders. So if my brother here is telling me that he's the one who has been given, I mean, really,
but if they receive them,
it bastardizes the whole concept. Let me just finish. Because we are talking about national issues, national leaders, national functions. You cannot get letters to give somebody. It's like putting in courier. The government has a mechanism of communication. It knows how to, in terms of protocol, who communicates to any leader for an invitation. It's not about running around with letters. I think that's where the problem is now. You see that I want to assume that it is true that he has been delivering those letters. That mechanism already waters down the whole idea. Government has structures, has protocol, has communication mechanism, how to deliver information to leaders, national leaders, and even if it's not because if it's a national like Independence Day, it is not an NRM thing. It is a national. So government is in charge of communicating.
Maybe he has been holding that portfolio.
Or maybe he can tell us which person he holds in government.
Your question was, who should spearhead? I think that's the main image that we want to build on.
Yes.
Not small things.
Yes.
The one who has the power entrusted by Ugandans to unite this country
should spearhead that.
Exactly.
And
that's the president.
And is that spirit there?
If he extends an olive branch into other political parties and say, would you please come on table? Others say, we will not come. Should we use this small platform as we build up, called iPod, where we can come and discuss our problems? We will not come. What should we do? Should we do a broad-based government? You bring somebody from the other group and this group, people that are potential. The other groups say, you see, he's weakening our groups. He's weakening my party. Now, we need to come to a level of maturity where people say, I think it's not for my pride and egg, but it's to the interest of the Ugandans. If I will sacrifice, let me do that. Come together and work with the government, which has been entrusted with.
Well, Mr. Kakooza, that would sound good. But the question again...
But here, because we told those people, like he said, he was open to the winner in Busia. I said, even though you are the man of the day, but I think your ideas alone may not work. But the other one says, my people will think
I've been compromised.
I've been compromised. My people will think. Because we built on lies. Now, those lies, you don't want them to melt off. You survive by telling them, I don't work with him, I don't greet him, I don't eat with him, I don't drive in the same car with him. Now, that alone, until we pierce that balloon, which is deceptive.
In just a minute,
Then we come
Mr.
together.
Kakooza, give me your parting shot, because we need to run out of here. Just in 1 minute, give me your closing remarks.
Uganda is bigger than people. There are only two resources we have, like I said. Human resource, leadership resource. Once the two are abused, there is no future. Once are well tapped, empowered, utilized to our fullness, Uganda will change.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Kakooza. I'm giving you quite more minutes because he has been deliberating, so I'm giving like 3 minutes.
Okay,
2 minutes to make your point and then 1 minute to give me your parting shot.
Thank you. I think, first of all, as a country, we need to reach a level where we can support and grow strong political parties, because the basis of good governance is on political parties, since we have chosen to go the multi-party dispensation. If one party is in power, it should be checked by almost equally stronger opposition, so that actually it can be put on tenterhooks to deliver on its mandate. Now, actually a strong political party, in my view, is one that allows the country to nurture leaders irrespective of which political shades or leanings they come from. In terms of internal contradictions, these internal contradictions will remain. It's like we cannot say that we are going to have a solution to this. Why? Because a political party is formed by different people of different tribes, different religions, different upbringing, different ages, different gender. So their individual constituencies of leaders will influence how they want to structure the trajectory of a political party. And that will actually differ with another leader within the party. And that one is healthy. There is actually nothing wrong with having internal contradictions in the party, because that strengthens the party. Once you have a mechanism of ironing them out, and you say, okay, we had three positions on this matter. By vote, this position has won, and therefore all of us can move together to support the idea. And the same thing happens to a country. We have gone to an election. If we believe, of course, we know that there's a problem that the rest of the political parties have very little confidence in the electoral process, because they think that the Electoral Commission, for instance, is a bulwark of the NRM, and that's they're entitled to their thinking. So if we can have a credible election where people go to this election and they know, if I win, I've won, if I've lost, I've lost, and whoever has won can take the mantle, and we support, because you see, at the end of the day, election is about delivering to the people. It's not about individuals and parties.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much, my panelists and all our viewers from wherever you're watching from. I want to thank you for being part of the discussion from the time we started up to now. And of course, this brings us to the end of tonight's edition of the Hotline Show. I want to thank my panelists for sparing time out of your busy schedules to be part of the discussion. I thank you for the ideas you've been sharing, and I believe they will be helpful in shaping the trajectory we take as a country, in ensuring that Ugandans live in a country that a country that has equal opportunities for all, a country where we live as brothers and sisters, regardless of one's political inclination. Well, my name is Abdallah Latif. I want to thank the team I have worked with, Kato on camera, and then my producers and the rest of the team in the control room. I want to wish you a great night until next Monday. Have a good night.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.